Hello, Sean. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Porky. How are you?
All right, mate. What you been up to?
Work, 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 but all good
Grafting hard, kids. Grafting hard.
for one.
Okay, then let's get stuck in then. Moses Itauma. What next for him?
Difficult one. He's destroyed McKean, but I think we're all inclined when something like that happens to reflect that that guy wasn't too good. But he took Ergovic nearly a full fight very recently, so I think it's a good win, particularly for someone that turned 20 a week and a half ago. So what's next for him depends how brave Warren is. I say brave, it's an investment, so I think it depends what level he goes to next. There's options for him. Does he stay around and dust up some British domestic challenges, or does he jump through some continental belts, get a ranking, and go for a version when the world versions of the titles fracture, if Usyk and Co depart? So I think there's two avenues really. Temptation is that we'll rush him, but Warren knows how to shift his lads through to at least WO shot in a careful and cautious manner. So I'd love to see him watch some fight some Brits. Get some good fights there. Don't think he needs to rush, but we'll see.
Uh, Personally, I'd like to see him go for a British title against Fabio Warley, but I think if they go for that for him, could be a risky fight that for Fabio and for Moses. There's too much risk in that they both could. It's like a 50-50 in it, really. So I think they'll go WBO route and they'll try and get him to interim and they'll try and get a belt for him, like a WBO belt. They'll, a bit like Nigel Benn pinched the WBO, didn't he, back in the day? He didn't want to fight Bomber Graham, did he?
No, we did not.
So I think they'll probably do that with Moses. And then market him as this guy who won a world title at a young age, but like Mike Tyson. I don't think he'll beat Mike Tyson's record unless they can free that WBO belt up and they can sort of like buy him the belt. You see, and then if they can beat Mike Tyson's record, he'll be a global star because they'll push him to death, won't they? Then
It will. And some of the narratives start to change about he might not take Tyson's record, but he can win it quicker than Patterson and a couple of others that won it
Darling,
when they were
all that, yeah, yeah.
22 and 23 win. But yeah, I think that's what we'll do. I would personally love to see the Fabio fight, but I don't think there's anything in it in terms of risk to reward ratio for Fabio in terms of where he is. Now he's got a ranking. I would not be touching him if I was his handlers because he's got a lot to lose. And it's still a difficult fight for Itauma because we still don't know how good Itauma is. He's blitzed everything he's seen, but Fabio's one of those fighters. A little bit like with Apataya, is when he gets hurt, he's got a look on his face. He almost likes it and he comes back. So it's a fight that I don't think will happen. And if I was advising either of them separately, not that I ever will be, I'd be swerving it and going for the WBO trinket, which Warren seems to have co-owned since the mid-90s.
Go on, it's his pal, isn't it? Paco.
It, it is, and I think there's a lot of investment between those two because he gave a lot of credibility. He got the WBO some credibility when it was
Yeah.
not really the fourth belt, and we remember now the likes of Ben and Eubank as
I
sort
remember
of.
Nathan Cleverly getting his belt by your email because Jurgen Bremer couldn't fight him in England because of his bail conditions, and everybody knows
I remember that Bramer was a naughty boy, wasn't he?
he wasn't allowed
Um,
into the UK, was he, because of his bail? And,
yeah,
and it said that on his conditions because he took his passport. So they made a fight for him, didn't they, in Wales?
yeah, that's one way to get it, isn't it? Not get,
Knowing he couldn't get it, and then they had to slip somebody in who were some dosser. And there you go, Nathan. You're a world champion now, courtesy of Uncle Bricktop. I remember Ricky Burns getting a belt off him via a gift.
yeah.
Enzo Maccarinelli. They were all being on gravy train, aren't they? Next it'll be Moses Itauma.
Yeah, he did. He did. He knows how to navigate the WO routes to get it via email or in the ring or against a soft touch. So I think that's what the cynic in me says, or the realist in me says. That's the route he'll go down, and I
Yeah,
can't blame Atama.
that's what they do. I mean, look, boxing, in my opinion, right, it's repeat, do it again, repeat, do it again, repeat. Just like Tyson Fury, innit? But we'll come to the big gypsy dosser in a minute. But Moses Itauma, I doubt they're going to go for British unless it's somebody like Johnny Fisher or Dave Allen and a vacant. They'll not want to go near Wardley. Do you
No,
know what I mean?
no, even Adelaide's got a bit of risk attached to him, hasn't he? If he
David
navigates,
Adderley, if he catches him, he'll put him on button moon.
absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Can he beat Mike Tyson's record? I don't think he's got 5 months to do it, and I don't think he's going to do that, yo.
Me neither, and I don't think Warren rushes the lads that he takes from turning over to. He knows a cash cow, and he knows an investment. And I'm not even meaning that in terms of having a dig. He knows how to keep their mudders milking, and I don't think he'll risk it for what to say that he's washed up, that he's beat someone's record that was washed up himself by 1990.
Yeah. Okay. Uh, Dillian Whyte, as he throws out like yard.
I think he is. I think Walt White's managed to be one thing he has managed to be consistent is consistently unlikable. And I think he's managed to piss off, annoy most promoters along the way. So that what loyalty do they really own him? He used to talk about plotting his own path and didn't sign deals and did it fight the fight, but bit him on his backside. He's now fighting for a fiver in Ireland against nobodies and struggling with them. And I don't
Oh,
mean
they
that.
reckon that he paid to get on that show, don't they, in Gibraltar?
Yeah, well, he certainly didn't. Certainly we didn't invest in the setup because it looked like a Salvation Army jumble sale when they were doing the pre-fight stuff. But yeah, he's struggled against someone who is a big lump and nothing more. So yeah, I think he's done, and I can't say it's more than deserved because never been a big fan of his either. He talked a big game, and then when he got his shot against Mr. T. Dosser, he got pushed over and fell over.
Well, what leaves a bad taste in my mouth there, and I'm not a big brick top fan, but he didn't want to help with promotion of that fight, Sean, at Wembley. Just because
No,
Eddie Hills went on IFL and said, well, he don't need to because he's a manager and he's guaranteed his purse. Well, what about the people putting the poke up and all that? And what about hyping it up and all that? They really wanted to cut Bricktop's legs off, didn't they, really, with that? And now, look,
and that's the second time that an heavyweight with half a brain has listened to Eddie's advice to not help Warren, despite them now being best friends, while the money's rolling in. Did same with didn't even take the fight on Hearn's advice in terms of Mr. Allen because he could get him more than 300 grand against Dubois and that bit him. But yeah, he's got no love from Warren, who's running the show, and he's got no love from Eddie. And I dare say Spencer Brown doesn't need him. So where's he going to go? Beg to get on a Sky show?
I don't know. I don't know. Uh,
Good riddance.
yeah. Well, he's approaching 37 White. He's always out of shape, isn't he?
Despite all the pads, I think he alone could be used in anti-drug warning to show that just because you're using gear don't mean you'll necessarily look decent because he still looks like a mope when he's on them. So yeah, he's old. He's had multiple bans in multiple sports. I don't want to watch him.
Has he? Do you think he got done in K1, didn't he?
He did.
Right. Then he got done after he'd had two handfuls of fights or something, didn't he? You
Yep, for Jacked 3D that was a recently banned. Um, it's like it was like legal fet. It was a pre-workout. I used to take it. It's stronger than an ox. But he was stupid enough to test for that when it was clearly banned. And then he what was it? Debo something else?
Oscar Rivers
Yeah.
and the
So yeah,
Joshua fight, where it never happened.
yeah. So he's had enough chances. He's had enough bans that he's
Think
disputed.
they won't touch him now in Saudi. Nobody wants to touch him.
And unless he starts doing some real brown nosing quickly. But I don't think Turkey El Sheikh's going to need him, do they? I don't think there's enough heavyweights kicking about that with a snout in. That what do they need? What do they need a multiple ped banned bloke close to 40 than 34? Not at all.
Yeah, yeah. There's more heavyweights than him. Look. He's made his dough. He mainly got rich off that amateur fight with Joshua. Everybody knows he palled IFL TV. Where are they backing his corner now?
Well,
They
if
don't
you're
seem to be backing him, do they?
well, if you're expecting loyalty off IFL, you're going to be waiting a long time, aren't you? Yeah, but no, nobody needs him now, so that's why he's fighting in front of four people, in front of four paddies for a fiver.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on from him, the can man. Anybody who wants it can get it as long as it's over 75 with COVID. Martin Bacoli. He he's piped up. And I mean, I feel sorry for him in a way, but he's not marketable, is he?
Nope, he's not. And again, risk to reward. Good chances are he's going to fill you in, and he's not he's not from a country with a massive backing of international boxing renown. Obviously, he's a superstar where he lives when he goes back home. Billy Nelson doesn't help it in terms of how he communicates, which is I like him a little bit like Joe Gallagher in terms of honesty and calling a spade, but he doesn't help him market it. So yeah, he's going to get avoided unless he goes down. They keep talking about next he'll be IBF mandatory if he beats the next fella. Is it a Jagbay or someone he's fighting? But unless he gets mandated to fight, I don't think anyone's going to queue up to fight him because what they're going to get out of it, likely beat, and he's still not that well known despite filling in Jared and everyone else. And I'm still a little bit, I do still remember that someone that could move um, sort of made him quit, Michael Hunter. So I don't know. He seems to be very, very good boxer, but low risk to reward.
Yeah, yeah. Hunter done him, didn't he?
He did. We forgot that because Hunter's been so inactive since.
Billy Nelson
Um,
mentioned Michael Hunter.
No, he doesn't. Like Michael Hunter, fantastic boxer. His only other loss was when he's lost. What did he do? He didn't do badly against Usyk as a cruiser, did Michael Hunter, and certainly achieved more than his father did. God rest his soul. But yeah, I like him, but I don't know, no idea what he's doing these days. I think he fought a couple of times in 2024, but can't remember who against.
Yeah, okay. Uh, who's the biggest licker? Puppy Parsons or Dev Cheese and Pickle Sandwich? Or is it a tie?
That's really difficult. That's like trying to ask, what's your favourite sandwich filling, cat shit or dog shit,
Yeah.
Porky? And I'm not a fan of either. Do you know what I mean? As working class as I am, I can at least stretch the cheese slices. But being serious for a minute, Dev, Dev is obviously in-house Queensbury till he dies because that's who he's paid for. But I think Parsons he's willing to lick anyone. He popped up on the show in Wednesday as the world's shortest presenter. I didn't realise he was actually 3'7". But I reckon him because I do think the man from Cirencester is willing to do anything and accept any abuse to get either in front of a camera or get someone in front of him in a camera. But I do respect the fact that he is still probably in year 8, so he's certainly doing well for his age. But he's definitely chief of the rimmers at least.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed, but my argument is this, right? People like Puppy Parsons and Adi Alapido and the Gad on Talksport, right? They've all got YouTube channels, but they all work in the boxing media. DAZN, Adi's DAZN, Puppy Parsons now DAZN, and the Gad Talksport and does bits for DAZN. How can they give an impartial video on their YouTube channels when their paymasters are running the sport? It's like a
Possible.
conflict of interest, isn't it?
It's impossible. They should, but like I say, they need to keep the veneer and the masquerade and the mask that they are somehow independent journalists. I know the GAD, we all know what the A stands for, can at least cling to still having some journalistic role in terms of writing for the Telegraph and stuff, but who reads that for the boxing? So, but yeah, it's there are a whole clique of in-house PR masquerading as journalists. But at least Gad's done some journalism before, and at least he told um, Blobby John to piss off, which I did quite like that. And I know that Coogan had brought him in to try and shit stir, but I did like the fact that Gad was at least willing to tell him to piss off and told him to go have his dinner, which I thought wasn't a bad one-liner from Gad.
He looked like he's already had his dinner, didn't he, Daddy Ford?
And I think he needs to concentrate on what he is going to be fighting, which is clearly heart disease. And he needs to pipe down less and stop pretending he's someone who fought fight that he clearly didn't. But I'm going off tangent, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah. I were bigger than him. It shows you that if you put your mind to it, you can do it, doesn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely. You've lost 240 pounds through work ethic and stuff. Yeah, he ain't going anywhere near that. he's going in an extra big coffin before that happens.
I would head in for a coffin, to be honest. I thought I need to sort myself out here.
I used to use an excuse that I competed in strongman, morbidly obese. Just because you do three crap comps a year, you should not be weighing 335 pounds. So I've been there. Completely get it.
Yeah. Okay. His Excellency and Eddie Hills. What do you think is going on there? Do you think there might be a bit of friction, or do you think Eddie now knows his place? Because odd people seem to be pulling him here, there, and everywhere, and Eddie turns round, like he said on was it Radio Raheem? Hang on, let me just check.
Mm.
Radio Raheem, he does bits for seconds out.
He does, doesn't he?
Mentions something to him, and Eddie said, "Well, I'm just like an agent, aren't I, for Frank now?" When technically he is, and that's how he shuts things down. A bit like when he was asked a third time by Coogan about his amateur record, and he went, "Yeah, well, Coogan, not that again, but well, look, what it is, Coogan, I just made it up." And then he sort of shut it down, kind of thing. And I think really he's having a bit of a tough time. Really, he looks to me like he's on outside looking in, and I
He,
think that Spencer Brown's overtook him now as regards sitting on His Excellency's
oh,
left knee and Bricktop's on the right knee. Eddie looks like he's at background, doesn't he?
Gold Star and Spencer. And I mean, I don't know the gentleman at all. I know he can be, he's had a hell of a rise from putting on sort of white collar fights and then becoming Fury's manager. But Gold Star, have more influence than Matchroom. And I think it's quite interesting when you think about the Matchroom business is that they have actually sold, I think it's a 10%, but a 10% stake in their business to a capital and equity firm. I wouldn't be surprised if Hearn knows that the writing's a little bit on the wall because the Saudis via Turk or whoever's sitting behind them pushing the oil money in, they don't need Warren or Hearn for much longer or even Brown. They're bought into the zone. They can run the show themselves, and the need for promoters and even managers is going to be minimal and more minimal. And before you know it, we've lost British boxing to a blood regime. And if you want to go down that route, we can. There's a lot we can do to influence it. But Hearn's definitely on the outside looking in. But he's still as cocky as ever, so it's hard to tell.
Okay. Ben Whitaker is saying no now to Cameron match rematch.
Saw that. Yeah. Um, sorry, was you? But yeah, no, he is. I saw that. I watched an interview in the few minutes I had today where I think apparently Boxer have said it can only be on a Boxer show, and then they've come back via Queensbury. This was what the presenter was saying. I like Cameron in terms of Cameron, so he just listens to Lee Eaton. He's not asked about the details, but it seems like they're creating reasons and excuses that the Whitaker Cameron rematch ain't going to happen next, if at all, which will be a shame. And I do have a little bit of sympathy for Cameron because he's turned down other fights whilst he waits. But Cameron himself has walked away from people that have done him good, so my sympathy only extends so far.
Yeah. Okay. Will Elmer Fudd do the same with the White Rhino?
From watching as I do, because I know I always admit my biases. I'm very biased. I'm biased towards Dave Allen just because I've followed him and followed some of his fighters. But he seems to be talking about the fact it's not going to happen next, and he started training again with a view in mind. He said to fighting someone that won't be Johnny Fisher. It's for me. I think Johnny will probably take another fight with someone, and then hope that Dave can't keep the consistency in training, which is very likely, knowing his past, and that's not a dig. But then come and fight him again when he's reverted back to eating, not training, and then using his camps as weight loss regimes. That's what I'd do if I was him. And I wanted to beat an easier Dave Allen because odds are stacked against Dave being managing to maintain consistency in his training. So I'd love to see the immediate rematch. Johnny lost, but I think he may well beat Allen in a rematch the longer that waits because Allen's not getting any younger and he's not consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. The lazy Rhino, somebody called him in
It
comment
is,
section
and he's
earlier.
honest. He's at least honest about that, but that's not something you'd wear as a badge of pride when you get paid to punch. But yeah, no, I think yeah, that's my views on it.
Okay. Canelo Crawford. I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's Crawford's obviously uh, a magical boxer, but as for a man who's fought at cruiser level to fight that, we all like the crossover fights in terms of the weights, but that's a hell of a weight bully fight against a guy that's fought above 175 and has used PEDs. That could be a painful night's work for a man who's what, mid to late 30s? And it'd be horrible for him to lose that. I like watching Crawford. Not a big fan of Canelo. And I hope it don't happen personally, but that's just me.
Okay. Ben Shalom, is he hanging on for dear life at Sky?
I think Sky will withdraw from boxing and Shalom will scoot with it. I think with the direction of travel, all roads leading to the zone and Saudi, Ben's not put on brilliant cards. He's got a whopper on Saturday that, as much as I like him, is co co-mained by a very good domestic boxer from Barnsley who I had the pleasure of meeting last year before he fought against the gentleman whose name escapes me. But anyway, when he fought at Oakwell. But if that's the quality of the fights they're putting on, are they going to renew his deal? What's he been 4 years into that contract? What is it, a 5 year deal? I can't imagine. I can't imagine him renewing it or staying in boxing.
What? Well, he'd only put an handful of shows on for starters. So how did he get the gig in first place? That's what people
You
are
know,
asking.
he used to do that. He used to do those pound shop tournaments on Channel 5, didn't he, when he was begging Paul Malignaggi to be his mate, and that lent it a little bit of legitimacy. He used to have those little tournaments, but I have no idea. I don't know what connections he has in terms of family or stuff. He always talks about being Manchester. He doesn't sound like a Manc to me, but he just sounds like a posh boy playing boxing. But again, you know my prejudices towards posh boys. But yeah, I don't reckon he'll be around after his deal finishes. And if Sky do stay in the sport in any guise, they'll not be using him.
Well, didn't they have Johnny Wishausen holding his hand at one point? What happened to that?
Yes, yeah, that's gone quiet. So I don't know if he's just, or if that's not the case anymore, or John's jumped. But yeah, Ben's not good in front of the camera. He doesn't seem to be able to make the fights. Warren, in particular, clearly loathes him. Um, I don't think he's needed. So I think he's had some of his fighters have had horrific losses as well. So he's clinging to the fact that in his mind, Eubank Jr. is the biggest star in British boxing. But other than that, I don't know where he's going.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think he'll get a renewal. And all them that are telling him he's great, this and that. Once he's on his way, they'll not give him time of day.
They would not urinate on him if they were desperate for the toilet and there's a fire raging. They'll use him and then walk away. He'll realise that he's got no friends in boxing. Um, and yeah, whether we'll see him again and popping up on another channel or he'll try and navigate his part of the DAZN thing and cling to the Saudi tails, who knows? But I don't reckon Sky will keep him because he's not delivered.
Okay. Bean, Mr. Bean, 29 year at Sky. We're still waiting for his send off, aren't we? Not one YouTuber mentions about him beating cancer and him being this superhero that beat that. I'm
I
just
thought the
disappointed.
I thought the battle he had was with Betfred rather than any malicious tissue, but that might be me playing with spiteful rumours. It all seems very peculiar. I read a very sympathetic article in Boxing News and then nothing else since. And now he's popping up as GBM's director. But yeah, it is suspiciously quiet. And I know previously there's been statements made on this channel saying, sue me if you think I'm wrong. I don't think you've had any legal letters
No,
forthcoming.
I don't want. Also, I want to know why nobody wants to talk about this because every time, I had a life-changing surgery in Turkey, and every time I bump into boxing people, they all pull me about that. And I know I've older people in boxing who've had bad injuries, and oh, how are you doing? And blah blah blah. Nobody wants to talk about this to him, do they? None of these YouTubers we access.
No, I'll word my words carefully, but a cynic might argue that it's a load of old shite and he's left for other reasons, and there's a reason that he wasn't welcomed back with opening arms to Sky when he
Yeah.
left, which is why he said he was taking some time for family and then popped up at GBM as to lend some legitimacy to them. And that's not a dig at Izzy. He's done extremely well. Um, but I don't believe a word of the
Of the Bean
figure.
story, because he's been around boxing people.
Yeah, the Bean, let's call it the Bean saga. I'm not a believer.
I'm not a believer either, but he did say, "I'm leaving Sky and I'm going to try. I want to try other things." But you took a job in boxing.
Yes, he did. I
Job in
remember that we was going to go for
fucking
something
boxing
completely
on
different.
tour, eh?
He said he was going to do something completely different and then came back doing exactly the same thing.
So if
So
he's beat cancer now and he's still working in boxing and he left Sky to get his health right and to try different things, why has he not gone back to Sky?
absolutely. And as someone that's lost close family members and people have survived with that illness, I think it shows the level of the man if he is using that, and he should not be anywhere near a channel.
It'll all come out in the wash because nobody can hold their own water in boxing, you know.
No, absolutely. A bit of patience and we'll see the drivel that's
Oh,
come
it'll
back
come
up his
out.
mouth.
Then he'll have to
Yep,
disappear, won't you, Super? In fact, I don't even call him Bean. I call him Super Bean.
absolutely.
Uh, Judge Jordan. Oh, sorry. Let me back up a little bit. Johnny Horsecock. Why don't they give him the job? He could do a better job than Adrian Mole, couldn't he?
You're right.
Around boxing, hasn't he?
He's been around boxing. He world champion 8 years, albeit a Warren WBO Warren Boxing Organization title. Knows his stuff. Not bad in front of camera. Liked gets on with most boxers. Worked well with the predecessors to Molly Boy. So yeah, if they stay in boxing, why not at least give it to a fella that has done something well in boxing and actually has some integrity in terms of his career, having lost his first three fights and not giving up, as opposed to a posh boy that wouldn't know boxing gloves if they punched him in the face.
Well, it is what it is, isn't it? But like I said, I think Ben Shalom's out his depth.
I think that's become quickly and clearly apparent as he's not made fights, he's not built relationships, and he's 4 years in with what? Eubank, a 35-year-old prospect, and he's top heavyweight, just having his face crushed. And that's not a slight on a very nice man in Clark, but the horses he's backed, most recently Whitaker, they're not paying off, are they?
No, no, it's not paying off. And all that about is a breath of fresh air and all that. What's the best fight he's put on? Calm Brook. Got it with 10 years too late.
Absolutely. And that fault and that fight didn't sell itself because of anything to do with Moley Boy. That sold itself as tired as it was because people had wanted to see it for a long time. There was genuine rivalry. There was no promotional coup that he did. He just had the Sky job when Sky put the money in to make the fight. So even his best achievement is not his achievement.
No,
He just
no.
rode it.
Failed, hasn't he? And he's got Yard there now and Bawatsi and where are they going? I mean, people, it's like the graveyard, isn't it? People are going, it's like leaving Man United, isn't it? And going to Bury, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got the it's like having the opposite of the Midas touch. He gets gold touches and it turns to shit.
I know, I know. Uh, Judge Jordan says Fury versus Big Meech, Joshua, that is it's an also rans fight for the losers. What I mean, I don't know if he's trying to get on hardcore's good side, but basically it's true, isn't it? It's not for a belt, is it?
It is it, amidst some of the drivel that Simon Jordan does talk, and as abrasive as he can be, he makes some really solid points, and that's one of them. It's the fights it's the fights for the also rans and the no longer are. So yeah, the sad thing is they'll probably get made, and they'll both make another ton of money. With two people that have already got too much money that the brains deserve, and we'll all buy into it. Not all of us. Um, Clapping two people over the hill as they squeeze the last drops out of their already knackered careers. But yeah, I think Fury's got more left because he's not terrified of being punched. But I don't want to watch it, and
No.
I wasn't thinking that 6 weeks ago, but I'm bored of it.
Okay. Do you want to go on to part two, kid?
Happy days, we'll do. See you
Right,
in
I'll
two.
see you then. Do you want to make it 8:40? Yeah.
I'll be there, seven
Cheers,
minutes.
pal. Cheers,
Bye.
Sean. Right. Don't forget to join us on part two. Like and subscribe and leave a comment. All right. Peace out.